about how to develop your career, it always starts from your skills first. Because your skills are the value that you're going to sell to people. That's why people would hire you. That's the value that you're going to bring to the table. Oh, I think I'm seeing some more introductions. Yeah, keep it coming. I'm going to still open the chat and say hello to those that have not read as yet. So yeah, when we think about things like that, like, okay, what do we do to get those skills? And the simple answer is go get trained, right? And I will just, because I don't want to dwell on this part until I speak of what exactly I want to talk on. I wanted to niche it down further and not just generally talk about career development on a very wide spectrum. So one is excellence, right? Remember how I started the conversation from value? Why should anybody hire you? Would you even hire yourself? What the career goals that you have, maybe you want to, let's bring your career goals, or rather the success metrics for you is maybe financial, and you want to start earning X amount of money in 5 years. The question is, why should any company hire you in 5 years and pay you that money, right? Maybe it's not financial for you, and your own career goal is, I want to be able to build XYZ product. And now the question is, what does building this thing require? Do I have it? What do I have right now? What makes me qualified to work on this? So when you identify those gaps and also your strengths that you have, you can now build upon that. And that's like, I think that's the starting phase of your career. And we iterate over this as the years go by. So a bit to personalize it for me, especially something that has helped me when I tell people how fast I was able to scale my career, I think these were the things that helped. So we all work in tech, or most of us here do. Even if you're not coding, you're working in tech. So if there is something that you have observed is people want to see your works. You don't just, unless you're just introducing yourself to me, I have to prove, you say you're a software engineer, prove it. I want to see what you have done. I want to see what you have built. So it's a very hands-on focused kind of industry where we don't take your word for it. And we also don't even value whatever certifications that you have. We want to see that you can do what you say that you can do, right? Now, something that I did for myself when I transitioned, I think I'll be talking more about myself as we progress because most of you don't know me so well, is I don't have a background in tech. I transitioned into tech after I graduated from school. And that was when I met a group of persons where I was living in Lagos that were, there were a bunch of amazing guys, and they're doing so well today, by the way. One was a hardware engineer. He's currently the founder of Hinge Systems, one of the, I would like to say, unicorns that we also have in Nigeria because they've raised millions in dollars as of right now. There was Wale, he was also a software engineer doing amazingly well for himself right now. There was a product manager. So it was an interesting mix. And I had conversations with them like, oh, what are you doing right now? I'm curious. I want to know about your role. And they were telling me about it. I was seeing what they were doing. And software engineering seemed more interesting to me. So I started from web development. Now, something that I did when I was learning, I did it accidentally, but I think it helped me, is I'm a very vocal person. And I think anyone that is starting out in something should be vocal. It should not just be you that knows you can do XYZ or you're good in XYZ. You should let other people know. So the moment I registered for a boot camp, and thankfully, that boot camp is also project-based. So I have projects that I was working on every week, posting about, look at what I did. And even though if I look back on those things right now, to be honest, they looked very, oh my God. They're not like amazing projects. But I was so proud of them. And I think you should too. So don't look down on whatever work that you output. Show it to the world. That's the level you're in right now. And it took you a lot of work. You should be proud of it. So anyways, I was posting a lot about that. And I was extremely vocal. I was joining some tech communities. And when I go there, I'm always the kind of person that wants to collaborate. I want to help. So if someone says, oh, I need help doing XYZ, and I have an idea, I'll be like, okay, can I help you do this? Can I help you do that? So it did help with visibility. And 6 months into my career, I got my first gig. And that was through recommendations, because at this point I was already posting on Twitter. Now, I'm not saying this so that you should do exactly what I did. The point here is, while you're mastering your skill and you're pursuing excellence, work on products, and as you're working on projects and building things, sell your markets. So you see those three things, they really help your career. Because when I moved on to Twitter, again, this is specific to me. I'm someone that generally enjoys teaching people. About 8 months in, I think, or 9 months, I was dabbling into data structures and algorithm, and it's something that really interested me. And I'm a knowledge sharer, so I started hosting spaces on Twitter, having Google Meets with people where I taught them about data structures and algorithm, breaking it down further. Now, this also helped me with my own visibility, because you don't know who you're meeting or who is joining those calls or who is seeing your tweets, who is seeing your LinkedIn posts, valuable posts where you're actually communicating the beautiful work that you're doing. And I also got lots of recommendation through that. And I think I ran a pilot project. This was just barely 1 year into my career. I ran a pilot project to mentor some beginners in tech. And I put out a tweet that I needed mentors I couldn't handle, because I don't know. I just randomly said, since I've been having classes for XYZ people, I was also teaching people JavaScript and they're enjoying it, I want to do more. And I had hundreds of people say they are interested. Now, that was too much for me to handle. And I had to put out on that tweet that I needed help, I needed mentors. And to show you that people are always watching, I had seniors from big corporations, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, come to me. Mind you, I'm not paying them, that, they want to mentor here. And you do know how this tickles down. That is how relationships and networks start building up. So now I know these people. And yes, you guessed it right. My first big major role in a big tech corporation came from one of them, because now they've worked with me. They've seen my stuff on the timeline. They contributed to a community project I was working on, and they were mentioning my name in rooms that I wasn't in, saying things like, if you want someone to do XYZ, Sophia can do it. Because I didn't go and tell them I can do this. They saw that I could do it and then recommended it for me. Now, those were the areas that I shined. I'm going to tell you the mistakes that I made so that we all can learn from that. So again, to summarize all of this before I niche down to the very specific aspect of our career that I wanted us to talk about is build. Okay, make sure you learn and build and be excellent at it. Be vocal. Sell what you're doing. Even if you don't have to be a popular person online. Trust me, that's not your job. Your job is just, hey, I can do this, so that people can know that, I'm sorry, I'm going to use your name, people, maybe Henry, Kizito, they can be like, yes, this person can do this. Who is the one person that I can think of when I want to get original laptops that I know that I'm not getting something that is fake or something? They should think of you. How do you get people to that point where, yes, I'm good at this thing. Now I need you people to know that I am good at this thing. So you could get visibility, you could get recommendations. If your goal is to increase sales, you're getting sales. If your goal is to get leverage through, those jobs that you're eyeing, because recommendations help a lot. The role that you're applying for, there are thousands of people applying. It's a different ball game for you when someone internally is recommending this person. Oh my God, I'm recommending Kingsley because of XYZ. They will prioritize your own application. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now. And please, I know that I might be speaking a bit fast. It's because I want to stick to time and I want to be able to take as many questions as possible. So if you have a question, so you do not forget, right? If you have a question, you could just write it in the chat. And this is 8:19. I think once it's like 8:40-ish, I'll stop talking and we'll start interacting with ourselves, and I'll take all the questions that we have. So if you know you're going to forget, just be dumping the questions as we progress. All right, I'm sharing my screen now. Can someone please help? Let me know if it's visible.
It's visible. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so this. Thank you. So it could be like what you see on my screen says sustainable practices as a techie, and like how does this align with my career development? Number one, it is not a sprint, it's a marathon. See this tech thing that you've started, again, now referring to those that are still in their boot camp, or maybe you just finished. It's a long journey, right? I think this is where I'll start highlighting the areas that I think I messed up when I started. It's not something you're just going to do now and everything, boom, in 3 months, you're okay. No, you need to start building habits that can help you stay in the game for the long run. So that's why I'm saying sustainable practices. And these practices will help you grow as a person and in your career. Okay. I don't know if you know what burnout is. And again, I'm not even saying this as someone that has mastered this yet. I'm saying this to you as someone that is still in the process of learning. If there is one thing I have suffered consistently in my career since 2020 till now, like I am still trying to come out of a burnout, is being burnt out, right? Because I had issues with prioritizing and self-management, and I was taking on too much. Now, even though it did not affect my career in the aspect that it wasn't growing, but I think that if I did the things that I want to share with us, if I had the opportunity to go back in time and do things differently, this is how I would approach it, so that I can grow in a healthy way and at a pace that I can sustain for the long run. I nearly packed up, and this is not even me exaggerating. I think I had my first burnout in 2023, sometime in March. I was so burnt out. I didn't even have any iota of energy in me to talk to anybody. I just wanted everything to stop and end. I didn't want to show up or anything like that. And so you can see how this is problematic. Now, on one hand, you don't want to take up too much. On the other hand, you want to do enough. So you're actually growing and you're not stuck at a point. So we need to find that balance. This is why I think this conversation is important as an aspect of your career development. So we're looking at prioritization and self-management. And let me just move right into the next slide. Why is this thing not changing though? Okay, so the outline is we're only going to look at 4 specific things. I will introduce myself again. We'll talk about how to prioritize in a sustainable way, and you're a manager, act like it, and what our possible next steps is. Next steps is very important to me because we could stay here all day, talk about 1,000,001 things. If we do not take actionable steps, we just wasted our time, right? Okay. So I did say I'm a software engineer and a founder. So I've built several products over the years. I've worked on an insurtech product. I'm very keen on edutech. If you listen to my initial bands that I was saying. So I'm also currently working on an edutech product, Tabî Academy. I also lead an AI lab with a friend where we work on AI products that we push out. And yeah, so I've made my share of mistakes. I've fixed them up. I've continued to evolve. And I think I'm creating a sustainable system around me to help grow my job and my personal life, right? So I think that is it. So the aim of this particular conversation that we're going to have right now is to have clarity and structure. Tech can be very chaotic, especially let's talk about Twitter. Most beginners, I mean, me too, I was there. Let me not even say most beginners. Let me use myself as an example. Remember how I said when I started, I was learning web development. About 1 or 2 months in, I'll just peacefully, I wasn't looking for trouble. I'll go online. See me gradually learning React, and I'll be hearing that React is trash. You should be learning Angular. Hey, wahala. So do I leave the React that I'm learning now and go and learn Angular? Or should I learn the both of them? So there's always that chaos. There is so many things going on, and tech is an industry that is evolving pretty fast. Whatever information, now remember I said information, not fundamentals. Whatever information you have can get outdated as fast as next week. So there is that pressure to keep updating yourself while you're learning, while you're building, while you're growing. You don't even know which person's words to follow. This person is telling you AI is the future. That person is telling you, why are you learning product design? Who is going to hire you? Ain't nobody hiring product designers anymore because I can use AI to whip up my distance. And you're like, Jesus, what do I do? Do I change? Then there is a person that is learning backend. I'm like, why are you learning backend? You should switch to DevOps. The cloud is where it is at, right? So with all this noise externally, and then there is also noise internally for you because you have goals that you're trying to meet. I know sometimes we encourage ourselves, plan your goals, but you don't really have everything figured out at that point in your life. You're just trying to wing it, and there's just so many things happening. So we're trying to see in this conversation how we can create a very good system and structure around us that can give us clarity and structure every single time as you're growing and progressing in your career. So I did talk about all of this right now when I was ranting on why this conversation is necessary. We always have so much that we have to learn. You're figuring things out by yourself, and there is like overwhelming information for you to tap into. You don't know what to focus on. You're also under a lot of pressure to do so much with limited time. You're just starting your own tech career, and you're already seeing somebody saying, I built XYZ app in 1 week, and you're like, God, me, I'm still using 2 months to build calculator app. When will I get to this level? So there's that pressure. There is also the issue of, okay, maybe you're even probably low on resources. And no matter how high you dream, if you don't have the resources to bring that dream to fruition, you cannot maguire yourself to the resources aspect. So maybe you just don't have that much resource, and you're figuring out what are you going to do. You're winging it. You don't have any structure to you. You're just doing trial and error. Like, let me try. If this won't work, I'll continue. If this one doesn't work. Or maybe you thought it was going to be easy. And this is really no shade at people going to products, but I'm just saying, for example, especially ladies, because I run programs for ladies. So we have a Pink Summer of Tech coming up, and it's usually targeted at women that are just starting out their career in tech. And we put out the registration. Peter, you saw it, right? We put out the registration. Was it day before yesterday? We had tracks for front end, back end, product design, product management, and technical writing. And this is for women only. I'm not exaggerating. No single person has signed up for front end and back end, but we've had sign-ups for product design, product management, and technical writing. And upon investigation, most people think that product courses are easy, and I laugh. If you have started already, you will know it is not easy. That something is not code related does not make it easy at all. I'm someone that code, and I even have like product management experience as well. And I can tell you, each of those tracks have their equal share of shiggy. Like, they're not easy. So this is just like one example where, especially for my lady folks, I'm like, let's just do design. It seems like something that is easy. Let's just do product management. It sounds like it's easy. It's not. So even those that are in the coding track coming in, I'd be like, it's not that hard. And I also blame those of us that are techies, because we sell this dream of it to you that when you come in, it's all roses and MacBooks and what other aesthetic are they selling to people out there? An iPhone, and you think it's not. So when you get in and you see the shaggy and you're like, chaos, what do I do? So, or maybe you're at the point of your career where you've actually made some progress beyond all of this, but you're still unsure on how to skill up and move to the next level. So this is why this conversation is necessary. Now, let's talk about prioritization. Now, in simple terms, number one thing I'm certain is this is not the first time any of us on the call is hearing prioritize the things you need to do. You cannot do everything at once, right? And so I have this quote that says only important items should top your list and be executed first, whether you feel like it or not. And it sounds easy because it's written on the paper, it's on my screen. And yeah, that's easy. But I am admit, is it? If it's easy, people would not be having problems with prioritization. So the issue is not that we don't know that you're supposed to prioritize. The issue is not that we don't know that, okay, the whole idea of prioritizing is make sure that the things that are important are treated first. It's still not going to change the fact that execution is a big problem, right? I know that this is how I'm supposed to do this thing, but then I woke up today and everything my whole plan just fell into shambles, okay? So that's what we're going to look at, how to prioritize in a sustainable way, in a way that you can do for the long term. So I said the problem isn't necessarily a lack of access to information on how to do this. The challenge is in the doing. So let's look at some points I was able to write down. We overthink things too much, right? Again, I'm going to use myself as an example. When I was trying to priority, I was like, okay, maybe I need to look for app that I will download. If I download this app now, I'm going to design my life, or just put this is what I'm going to do this month and break it down into this what I'm going to do this week to remind us. Now, I'm not shitting on this app, don't get me wrong, but let me tell you what happened. I installed the app. I did all of these things. I don't even know where the app is right now. I didn't even open. I think I was even getting reminders in my email. Maybe you come and force me up to come and do things the way I actually wrote them down. And in as much as maybe I did it for the first few days, it's not sustainable. Why? Because I'm doing too much. Not too much in the task now. I'm doing too much to get things done. So always lean on clear, simple, manageable. This is not homework that you're submitting to anybody, right? Don't try to glamorize your plans. It's very simple. Tomorrow, I want to take 2 courses in HTML, period. Stop there. Don't try to, okay, maybe it's looking, if person see this thing out, I'll just think that I'm not serious with my life. Maybe I should add more. Maybe I should make this plan robust. That is enough. Have contingency options. Finish that one first. When you finish it and you still have enough leeway, then take up more. Don't spend hours making a beautiful, perfect plan that you're not even going to execute, or you're burning 2 hours of your day to create mood boards, vision boards, something. Again, this is not me saying those things are wrong, but if it is taking so much brain power and time from you, it's not worth it, right? Now, I did mention that if you're learning, get a very detailed curriculum. That's because I said manageable goals. For someone starting out, it's still all a jumble, right? So many things are not clear. So don't stress about it. It's fine if you don't even know what your career goal is yet, because you're just starting the tech thing. You've not even figured things out. So I would advise you lead into, go to one of these, if you're in a boot camp already, they're going to provide the curriculum. Just stick to it. Don't stress yourself about those. Just stick to it and do what you need to do, and see how you can break those items in your curriculum into small tasks that you can do every day in short, simple sentence. You can write it on your piece of paper if you need to remember. You don't need any fancy app. You don't need a fancy app. You don't need a fancy book. Any piece of paper can work. Then you can lean into the curriculum that they have for you. So let me breeze through this. The next thing is duration. I know that we are superhumans, and you feel like this thing sounds so easy. I should be able to do this in 1 hour. Now, whatever amount of time you think in your head is going to take you to complete a task or something that you're learning or something you're doing, double it and add an extra hour or more. For instance, if it's going to take you, if you think in your head that this is going to take you 1 day, double it. So it's 2 days and then add extra. Especially if it's not something you're working on by yourself, because you do not want to build a reputation of someone that is not reliable. Okay, so estimate correctly. Now, when you start out and you overestimate like this, as you progress, you will figure out, your right rhythm, the right duration for you to assign to things. So this is another thing you should do for sustainability reasons. So you don't take up too much, you don't overpromise and underdeliver. Now, from the steps above, stack your to-do in order of priority and manageable chunks. What this whole English means is when you write those things down in a paper, even if it's just 2 things that you want to execute today, that all in the grand scheme of things contributes to your major goal, right? Stack it in the most important things first. I know we are tempted to start from the easy ones. No, do the hard thing and just get it out of the way. All right. If you push the hard thing towards the end of your day, you're going to be exhausted. Yes, I know we have 24 hours in a day, but you're not going to be at 100% energy level throughout the day. Actually, you really get tired fast. I think realistically, we have 8 hours of top level high energy points in our day. So make sure you maximize that window in the most important thing. Don't use it to go and scroll on social media. Don't use it. And I think I put out a tweet this evening, and I just realized that even though we think scrolling on social media is leisure and you're resting, it's actually work. Your brain is processing lots of media, like that's words, pictures per second. That's mental work. That is why you can scroll on TikTok all day and you're extremely tired. So do not use your peak hours for easy task or unproductive task. Yes, it is unpleasant. You don't have to be happy about it. You don't even have to be motivated to do this. Personally, I feel like motivation is overrated. Wake up and get it done. You want to learn JavaScript, stand up and just do it. I don't feel like it. That shouldn't be your problem. You're not going to feel like it every day. You're not going to see that something, enticing. That's fine. Just get it done because it's something you need to do to grow and do the next things, right? So don't always lean on, I have to be motivated. I have to feel happy. Ginger myself. All those times that you're using to do that mental thing, just open laptop already and, get started. Number 4, you may be tempted if you don't. So on one hand, you have to pursue excellence. But what excellence means is at every point in time when you're working on something, you're giving it the best that you can at that point in time. Because you cannot do beyond what you can. That's just it. But at the same time, don't overthink. Okay, if I do this thing like this now, it's not going to come out good. When I write a lot of things, I write a lot of documentation, and any writer will tell you this. Don't be thinking in your head, oh my God, maybe the first, let's assume it's a book you're writing. The first chapter has to look like this. It has to look perfect. No, it's not. You can only improve on what exists. Just get started. Now, when it is down and is visible and you're looking at it, you can now say, okay, maybe I should change this thing to this. So that's how improvements happen. So do not overthink the doing process. Just start doing it, right? If the first version is not good enough, you now have something to improve. Rather than you've not started anything, you're still all up in your head thinking about a lot of stuff. I have 4 minutes left, so I'll just rush through this. So I did share some templates in this slide. I think I might share this slide after the session in case, because I used some resources that can help. Okay, so we're supposed to talk about the relevance of this, or because of time. But if you feel like it, you can let me know in the chat, why you think it's essential for you as a person to do this. And it's also fine if you feel like it's not even something that you need. Now, this part is your self-management. So I would say this. I get so many people coming to my DMs and like, oh my God, Sophia, I want you to mentor me. I want you to show me how to do this. And me too. This is not just them. Let me also tell you, me too. Because I have people, at every point you have people that are above you. There was this lady, so let me use myself now in this example. There's this lady that was admiring so much. She's doing amazing in the ecosystem. And I just felt like if I just hook up with her, she showed me her magic, how she does it, I'm also going to become like her. That's false. The bitter truth is, if you pick any of us on this call right now, and you pair us with who is the amazing billionaire that all of us are gushing over, let's use Bill Gates. And they pair you up with Bill Gates. If you don't improve on your own personal self-management, it doesn't matter what he tells you. You will not use it to do anything. You'll still be where you are. So most of the time, we want to outsource what we are supposed to do for ourselves to other people. Yes, there is a place for a mentor, don't get me wrong, but a mentor is not coming into your life to do your work for you. They're just there to tell you, okay, I've been through this journey you're about to start. This is what you should avoid, period. They cannot go beyond that for you. And it's not even money that's a problem, to be honest. Right? So I'll just skim over this. So managing yourself is extremely important. So many of us don't manage ourselves. We just wake up in the day and we just go anyhow. Anyhow the day go, anyhow it turn up, make we just do and like that. So let's look for a sustainable way to manage ourselves. So like I said, normally I would speak on time management here, but I prefer to refer to it as self-management, because when you think about it, it is your time that makes up your life. This life we're talking about, you measure it in time. You've spent 20 years on earth, you've spent 25 years on it. That's the life. When we talk about life, that's it. Your 1 minute, your 1 second, your 1 hour, that is your life going, right? So if you're able to manage yourself, and what you do to yourself, you're also indirectly managing your time, right? And you also understand the value of your time. That if I am giving Peter 1 hour right now, I'm giving him 1 hour of my life. How is this thing I'm doing right now is it going to give me good returns? Because I'm giving a lot to engage in it. It also changes your perspective on how you waste time, right? Again, because of sustainability reasons, this does not mean that you have every single time you have to be doing things that are productive. You have to be reading book. There is a place for relaxation. That is valuable use of your time. There is a time for leisure. And there's a time for sleep. These are important things. But I'm now talking about time wasting, when you're literally wasting your life on things that don't impact you. So this quote here that says that the person that has mastered self controls time, because you're controlling yourself, you're now controlling your time, and you're able to have a stronger control over your life. So now let's look at actionable points, because of my time is going. How to manage yourself and by extension your time. So the focus here is on building sustainable habits that can enable growth in our chosen track, hence the career growth and development, that we are talking about. Number one, don't try to improve or learn too many things at a time. I don't know if any of you are aware, but the whole multitasking thing is a myth, actually. You are never doing two things at the same time. Never. Pay attention to the statement. This is two things, two things at the same time. What you're doing is called task switching, not multitasking. So that multitasking thing is tricky. So you could say, well, let me look for task. I can be learning. I'm so sorry that I'm using most of the coding people as example. That's what I do. You want to convince yourself that you're learning React and Vue at the same time. No, you're learning React in this hour, and then you switch to Vue in the next hour. You are doing, so you don't really notice the switch because it happens smoothly for people that have practiced it. When you say, I'm having a conversation with someone and I am typing, no, you're actually stressing your brain because you're switching. Your brain switches, listens, processes what the person spoke to you, you switch, you write. So sometimes you notice where the response you wanted to give to the person you're speaking to, you mistakenly type it down. So why is this explanation important? Don't try to improve or learn too many things at a time. This is a forever thing. You always have to learn. You always have to improve. Me that I'm talking to you, I'm learning, I'm improving, right? Because there's always something to improve on. But when you self-reflect and you figure out that I have to learn this, I have to improve on this, don't try to fix all your problems at once. It's not realistic, right? Pick one thing, stick to it, fix it, and, there is time, right? The next thing is, my friend owns Fugap, that's Fatomi. And one of their phrases when they came out was, you are an institution, right? You know how, I don't know how many of us have founded companies, but I think most of us have at least at one point in time either worked in a company or even went to a school. You see how those institutions are managed with precision, with importance, with very strict plans, right? And then they have clear goals on how to be profitable and how to scale. And those institutions that do these things stay in the long game. Why don't you treat yourself like one? Because I feel that people are even more than the institutions that they create, because it's people that create institutions. So that means you're even more than that. But at least handle yourself like one. Run yourself well, right? When you wake up every morning, the shortest form of this whole English is treat yourself like a startup that you want to become a unicorn, and begin to do things that will make you as a person profitable, right? So I think that's all I'll just say on that, because I'm really watching time. The next thing is you should successfully execute your task by taking small actionable steps and take healthy breaks between. I'm really not a fan of do 12, 14 hours every day back to back. You're going to burn out. You're going to break. See, being there, done that. You cannot do that for a long time. And I believe that you want to live good quality life, right? So learn how to do things in small, executable chunks and take healthy breaks. He's the person that is alive that used to fulfill goals. So that's really important for us, to pace yourself correctly and take healthy breaks in between. Now, leverage tools that can speed up your process. Don't try to reinvent the wheel unless it's a learning process for you. There's so many tools available to us these days to speed up your workflow and all of that. Take advantage of them and how to use those things to speed things up for yourself. If you're learning, I tell some of the current students that I am teaching, ChatGPT is a very good learning companion because your instructor cannot tell you everything. So if you're being taught something, go to ChatGPT and type, explain this thing to me in the most simplest form possible. It sends in the text. If you also don't want to consume large piece of information at once, tell it, explain this thing in the most simple form in not more than 2 or 3 sentences. If it explains it, tell it, give me an example in real life where this is used. Do you get? Have that interaction. The free version can do this for you. And that's just an example. You're a business owner and you cannot afford to hire people that will do this for you. There are tools available that you can use to automate those processes. Just do your research and ask questions. I'm so sorry I didn't link resources for business people in this conversation because I was focusing more on people that are still learning. So whatever you do, leverage those tools, yeah? Now, the next thing is, I think I skipped one, but set boundaries and learn to say no. I think this ties to number 1 because you cannot do everything all at once. Learn to say no. Not every opportunity is for you. That's why personally, you need to have a very clear goal and vision of where your life is going, what you're trying to achieve in your career, what you're trying to achieve in whatever thing you're doing, so that when opportunities that don't align with that goal come your way, you can say no. And you're not just jumping into anything that is latest, right? And finally, track your wins and your failures. Don't just leave not knowing whether you're making progress or not. And I think wins and failures are important. I'm someone that have made a chunk of failures and I have learned from them. So track those things. When you win, pat yourself in the back. You really did well. It's not easy, right? Pat yourself in the back. And when you fail, still take note of it. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means there's a gap and something that you need to learn. And there's something to learn from it. And you could grow from there. I'm so sorry that I'm taking extra time. But now, what we're going to do is next steps for us. So again, I just needed to add this to this slide because whenever we're having this kind of conversation, it seems as if you're trying to make ourselves perfect. I do not personally, especially for what human beings think perfection is, I don't think is something you should even be chasing. What you should be chasing is commitment to whatever you set to do in life. Show up daily. The day you're feeling 100%, show up. The day you're feeling 20%, show up. The day you're feeling 30%, show up. It's the person that shows up that wins, to be honest. It's not, oh my God, I have to be perfect. Oh my God, maybe I don't qualify for this. The thing that you have committed your time to, show up daily for it and do excellently at it. And I think that is a better goal to, pursue. For next steps, I think this is just recap on some of the things that I pointed out. Plan, but make simple plans. Use your notepad, your phone notes app, anything that is convenient for you. And write your plans in a very simple way. Now, in terms of implementation, add timelines. Remember where we say we should manage yourself as an institution. If you're an institution, you're not going to say, oh, we have goal. We'll fulfill the goal whenever we want. No, businesses have Q1 goals, Q2 goals, Q3, Q4, and they have things that they're measuring to know if they're actually being successful or not. Do that to yourself. When you set things that you have to do, add a timeline, outline how you intend to get it done, what is the expected results, and how am I doing it well? How do I measure when I'm doing it well and when I'm not doing it well? And if anything in your routine is becoming super repetitive, automate it, right? Look for a way to get that thing automated so you can free that time to get other things done. Finally, review. Reviewing is very important because, like we all agreed, I hope, we are not perfect. You don't know everything that you can't do everything. You're still growing, you're still perfecting. So it's very good for you to keep track of how you as a person you're performing so that you can know what to improve and what to praise yourself on. So it's not every day that you're improving. Sometimes you're praising yourself that, okay, yeah, I sabi this thing, I'm good. Or maybe I need to fix this thing. And as you progress, you might even find out that maybe your goal needs to change. Maybe the vision needs to change because now you know more. You have more information to work with. And that is absolutely fine. You don't have to stick with the vision that you had 2 years ago if you now have information that suggests otherwise, that there is something else better. And though all of those things happen in the review phase, I think I'm done. I'm going to share this so that maybe, especially for those learning, you can have access to the resources that I shared. Let me come to the chat and see. Hopefully you have questions. You can. Oh, okay. Yes. Hello, everybody. I didn't even know if we had some. So there's media content, e-commerce company. That's nice. Health and safety officer. Cool. You love football. That's nice. And okay. So there are no questions in the chat. So I'm opening up the floor now. If you want to unmute your mic and ask a question, raise your hand. Okay, Emily's raising the hand already. So I'll call you soon, shortly. If you want to speak, raise your hand. If you prefer to type, you can type in your questions. If you also have something to share, because I'm also here to learn. If you also have something that you think you can contribute to the conversation that you like to share, please, that's also welcome. Okay, yeah, Henry, please go on with your question.
Okay, good evening.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Okay, so
Yes, I can.
you said you worked in development. But I don't know if you have actually done anything back end before. Like, because I presume when you said you are learning languages, you just talked about React and Angular and JavaScript framework. I have like a couple of questions, but the first one is as a backend developer, right? Because I believe there are also people aspiring to be backend devs there. Like, how do you actually build a portfolio to be able to show out? Because you won't actually be telling people to go to Postman and check your endpoints now. How do you actually like create something that you can be able to showcase to other people to see? And they say, okay. The second question is the time management, you said. So I think a lot of things, because I've tried to even create like a schedule, like a timetable for myself sometimes, but it doesn't really work because a lot of things comes into it. So let's say maybe your light will actually spoil like for a while, then you have to like walk around to find where to charge, or you won't have actually have strong internet to be able to get materials online to actually read. So for the time management, given the constraints that actually hinder it, is there like a way someone can actually maneuver it and actually make it work? Like plan he or herself very well. I don't really know. Just the portfolio and the time management on like given the constraints that I just mentioned, because like it's really not a straight line most of the times. Because I've actually tried it, like wrote a whole timetable, but I actually end up not following any of them.
Yeah, I get. Okay, thank you, Henry. So yeah, for the backend unfortunately, I think Heroku was free at some point, but it no longer is, right? And I think that as a backend person, first of all, please make sure your projects are on GitHub, right? People want to, I mean, personally, not just people, if I'm hiring someone for a backend role, I really want to see how well you handle architecture, how clean your code is, and so many other things. And I could tell all of that from whatever projects you have in your repository. Now, I'm a big fangirl of open source. If you're still at that point where now you need to contribute to projects, because if you say you build XYZ services, you need to, like you said, you can't share your Postman. You need to have maybe some form of API documentation somewhere that people can interact with that API and use it. That's where Heroku was really, really helpful for most people, because just like you could deploy for free on the front end using maybe Vercel and Netlify, I don't know if Netlify has options for backend people now. You could check it out. Heroku was that guy for us. Well, now it's paid. If you cannot afford it, I think there might be alternatives. Maybe I would even check myself. You could check. There might be free and open source alternatives to that. Deploy it. Now, I know that most back-end people don't write front-end code, that's all right. You can use Gitbook. I don't know if you know Gitbook. Their free version works. So if you're able to host any of the APIs that you created, then go and create a documentation for it so that people can use it. Now in Gitbook, they have templates. So you just select documentation templates, include what your API is for, how people can use it, blah, 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 add demos of it being used. So you might need to collaborate with the front-end person to come consume your APIs and use it so you can have that demo. And I think there are so many front-end people that are learning that also need such things. So instead of them interacting with free APIs out there, tell them that you have APIs that you would like people to come test for you and demo using it, and then link those demos of your APIs being used in your documentation. Let people know how they can, contribute to it and all that. I think those are what you can do. And when I was talking about open source, is if you've not gotten gig in a real life company that you can also list in your portfolio as real world experience, look for an open source project. I can't remember the name of that website, but it has a list of all the open source projects that need contributors right now. You could also check out Outreachy. They also pay their interns, I think about $7,000 or so. So you could go and contribute to those projects and feature it in your portfolio. Now, open source projects are live already. So you'll not be explaining that. What's that thing that Burna Boy said? You go explain, tire. If you don't have results to show, nobody's going to believe you. So I think you could lean into those. Now let's talk about the planning thing. I think the flaw, right, is we are trying to make ourselves become like robots. Okay. Now, this might be conflicting, but hear me out. Let's look at my typical day. Some of my activities in the day are actually not planned by me because I'm already working. So maybe when I sign in into my workspace, I already have tasks assigned to me. There's timeline that I have to get it done, blah, 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 blah. So maybe personally, I'll not say, okay, since I have to turn in this deliverable in 2 weeks, for instance, I have to do X, Y, Z chunks. Now, the goal of a plan or quote unquote timetable is not 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Sophia must be doing this. 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. This person must be doing that. Not only is it not sustainable, it's depressing. You don't want to do that. Now, why I said it's conflicting is while on one hand, you need to include timeline so that you can hold yourself accountable and you're not just, doing things without restriction. You also do not want to create, those kind of strict timetables and timeline for yourself that it seems very robotic. And then finally, give yourself wiggle room. Just like you mentioned, we live in Nigeria. You can just be peacefully planning your day that tomorrow you're going to do blah, 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 blah. That's when transformer will spoil in your streets. You don't have lights that you don't have lights. Honestly, there's kind of nothing you can do about it, right? So you can see how it's going to affect your plan. Or you're working, you're in your productivity mood. I think this must have happened to, because it has happened to me as well. MTN will just from nowhere. It's not going. Nothing is working. You just be so frustrated. But I think those are just part of life and things that will go down. So give yourself wiggle room where those things happen, just like we do in sprints and in Scrum, right? If you've been in sprints before, you see your product manager gives room for things like you have blockers, you have things. It's fine. So I have this challenge because of this. I could not do this tomorrow. So maybe I can push this to this other time while I figure out how to solve these physical problems that are limiting me from doing my task. Do I need to look for a hub? Do I need to look for a friend's house to have lights? When I started learning, then I don't know if you guys know Genesis Tech Hub. I had to beg my friends. They don't have that thing anymore. They had Agora where you could just go there, use their light and their internet to work. So I begged the friend to help me pay for a month. It was affordable then. It was like 10,000 naira a month. You just go to Genesis Tech Hub and use their resources. So, look at what is available to you. Let me not say this thing so you don't think that I'm rich. Then I was broke as, sorry to swear, but broke as fuck. And I had to beg my other friend that used to ride keke. I'd be like, please, when I blow, I'm going to give you money. Please, can you come and be carrying me to Genesis Tech Hub? Maybe when I'm coming back, I'll beg their boss people to drop me in a place that's close to my house. These are alternatives, us finding alternatives to solve some of the blockers that we have in real life. And even though I'm saying these things, it's not easy. The reality is it's not easy. Even yourself, if you check yourself, say if it's easy, everybody go they do it's because it's not easy. That's why so many people, are not doing it. So that's why I think most of our plans don't work. And again, it is fine when you map out a plan. I feel like if you even do 50% of your plan, you should give yourself thumbs up. Do you know how many people start their day in the world without a plan? And do you know how many people even plan and don't do shit? So you woke up in your day, you planned, you did 50% or more, you try. You need to pat yourself in the back and say you try. And then moving forward, see how you can improve. And I hope this helps me and you too, right? Someone else was raising their hand. Let me check the chat first if there's any question. Oh, okay. Yeah, Victor also talked about the timetable. Yeah, that's a lovely contribution. Henry, your hand is still raised. I don't know if it's because you have another question, but I'll come back to you. I don't know who was raising their hand before that lowered it. So if you are the person, your hand is not raised anymore, so you might have to raise it again so I can see it. So Henry, please carry on.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh yes.
Okay. I thank you for all everything. Well, I still have a bit question.
Yes, please go on. I'm sorry, hold on. Mary, your mic is unmuted. Okay, yeah. Henry, please carry on.
Okay, so first, the website you said about where you can be able to see open source, because I've actually looked for most everything is just JavaScript. I don't know. Everything is JavaScript, and
what do you use for backend?
.NET.
Pahala.
I don't like JavaScript. I wrote JavaScript for a while, right? But I don't really like it. I don't enjoy it. It's everywhere, and it makes my eye it hurts my eye. So I like .NET and PHP. So I've looked for open source projects on PHP for a while, and I couldn't actually see anyone. So I was but I just started trying to build things on my own. But if you have a link to that open, so where I can actually be able to find open source projects on .NET, or even if it's Node.js, I will actually go back to Node.js if I can be able to see a good open source on it. And also, my question now, the main question I actually have is, it seems like you're actually a hiring, you have gone through the process of hiring someone, right? So if you are meant to hire a junior software or backend engineer, let's say, so to say, what are you actually your expectation that things you actually expect the person to be able to know or to be able to do as a junior or intermediate role, right? Not a senior developer, a 2 years experience, something. What are your expectations? What do you expect the person to be able to do?
Okay.
Minimum, so to say, minimum to be able to be hired.
All right, I'll touch on that. So you're right. Now that I was even thinking about it, I don't think I've ever seen an organization that uses PHP in Outreachy. So, but thank God you have .NET. I think, have I even seen .NET? Yeah. I think I've seen a few in .NET, Rust, and the likes. Most Nigerian projects, if they're open source, they're going to use Node.js for the backend because, like I said, most people write Node.js, so they want to put it in a language that is accessible. But I don't think you should switch, right? They still hire PHP devs, but it's good that you also write .NET. Maybe for your personal projects, you could still use that PHP, and I've told you how to push your project and make it live for people to interact and also fix up your GitHub. Then when you go to this outreach that I dropped now, one tip, outreach was created for underrepresented people in tech. So on one hand, I'll say don't sign up if you're not underrepresented. But if you can defend your case, because during the registration phase, you will write essay tire explaining how you are underrepresented. So the people they normally target are women. If you're maybe what is this called? Maybe a Muslim, or you live in a country where you guys have, let's say Afghanistan, for instance, people that are disenfranchised, or you are a trans woman and you have faced discrimination because of that, or you're gay, those category of people. I've seen men in outreach, so maybe they explained whatever discrimination that they have faced that made them underrepresented. Or if you can defend your case as a developer living in Nigeria, maybe you have your own challenges, but it leans more towards discrimination. So, but even if if you're able to get into their contribution phase, even if you don't make the final slot, because if you get to the final slot, that's when they pay you the $7,000 for the 3 months contribution. But even if you don't get in, you get access to the projects that open up their doors in outreaching. Firefox, that's their Mozilla arm. Each other people, Wikipedia, Chaos. There's this other security company. There are like tons of them, and most of them use Python. I've seen Java. A lot of them use Java. I've seen .NET, and of course JavaScript people as well. So you see that diverse project to work on. So even if at the end of the day now you don't even want to go through outreach route, you'll be exposed to seeing those projects that are actively looking for contributions in the open source community, and you can go. Sorry, give me a moment. Okay, sorry, I'm back. So that's for the contribution. Let me answer your question on hiring. So for a junior developer backend specifically, first of all, they're going to check to ensure that you have skill, or rather, I will check to ensure that you have skills in the stack that we are looking for. Right? So if the job description says PHP, you should have skill in PHP. What's the framework that PHP people use again? So that's Laravel, right? So you just make sure, I'll check to be sure that that person has. I'm a sucker. I don't know if other hiring managers do this, but I definitely go to your GitHub. If maybe, and especially for someone that is just starting out, it's only maybe intermediate people and seniors that don't really have much code in their GitHub because they're working in private organizations, so their code is private. But I'll highly advise that, especially if you're in the job market, you have solid projects in your GitHub that are public, that someone that is looking to hire you can go look at how you write your code. And if you haven't done this already, please research on solid engineering architecture for backend systems and use the best practice, right? So I look out for those things a lot. Another thing is the kind of projects that you work on. You need to work on projects that differentiate you from others. Most people work on the same thing, but even if you're building something, you put a twist to it, and also add clean documentation in your README files of your project. Don't just dump code on GitHub. Have a README file that explains this thing in details. Then the second part of the thing is, depending on the organization, right? To be honest, for most of the organizations that I help, so on one hand, I'm hiring, on the other hand, I'm helping them run their talent bootcamp that leads to hiring. So I'll use Amazon as an example. When I did for Amazon ending of last year, they are big on data structures and algorithms. So if those are the kind of companies that your eyes are on, you need to know how to solve, algorithms. If not, you can leave that. Most other startups that are not big corps like Amazon's and the rest don't really bother about algorithms. So just send you a project, a mini project to work on, so that I can see your skills. And that project will be talking points for your interview, where if you're talking about, be like, okay, tell me how you solve this. And most of the time, they will have one part of the project that they'll tell you to execute there and then, so they can see you code in real time, or they could ask you if you had to optimize what you have currently, how would you go about optimizing? So I think I branched a bit into the whole what is it called, the whole interview process. But let's go back to, what you should have. So have solid projects. Don't have the general kind of projects everybody else is working on. Try to build a back-end service that powers a game. You get, even if this does not necessarily mean you're a game developer, but that is like have something in your
Please, can you go back? Try to build a backend system and powers what?
a game.
A game.
Yeah, for instance, because if I'm a hiring manager, I go to your portfolio, I see that there's a very high chance you're going to stand out in the sea of this thing, because most boot camps have the same thing. Maybe you've used API for e-commerce, and it's not even very, very robust API system. There are also thousands of people that build the same thing in their repository. So you want to, while you're practicing your skills, you want to build things that make someone stop in their tracks and be like, And if I were you, if I even build those things, I won't even wait till when I'm they're interviewing me. Please take advantage of your LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an amazing place. We mentioned that I build something like that. Post it. Like I said, look for someone that can demo consuming that your API. When you work on hard things like that, to be honest, it's hard to see someone, but just tell them the UI does not have to be amazing. They just have to prove that this system that you built is working, right? And then you post, make sure the code clean, organized, beautiful architecture. Have one or two of those. You posted it on LinkedIn. Your GitHub repository is linked. There are people that would straight up go to your GitHub to go and look at it. People are actively hiring. The people need talent, to be honest. It's just how to stand out from the crowd. But anyways, let me backtrack. I will look for those things. Now, as a hiring manager, one person will not have everything I'm looking out for. I'm just looking for that it factor. What makes this person stand out, really? Because there are so many people that are as good as you, but what makes this person different? Then, importantly, we check for soft skills. And me and most other people that I know prioritize soft skills sometimes above technical skills, because they'll tell you that technical skills can be taught. Soft skills, not so much. How good is your communication? They're going to ask you what we call situational questions. So if you're preparing for an interview, maybe I'll advise you go research what the STAR method of interviewing is and get some practice on. So they'll create scenario situations for you, and you would want to highlight that. You want your portfolio to also tell stories about, beyond just your technical skills, impact. I'm saying these things now because you're a junior. For an entry-level person, they might not really have to worry about this. So as a junior, either you worked on personal projects, you contributed to open source. How did that thing that you built create impact? How are you measuring it? So on one hand, yes, you have the technical skills, but this thing that I built did XYZ in XYZ company. It increased something, efficiency by 30%. You could measure those things. That's some nice to have things either in your resume, on your portfolio. Be good at it. Practice interviewing. Interviewing is a skill. Again, referencing the Amazon listing from ending of last year, it was sad, but so many persons that I told about it from Nigeria couldn't get in. And mind you, these are very extremely skilled people, but you see their communication, presentation, just general, this it factor was missing. But then their counterpart, I don't really blame them. There's so many persons that don't have access to those kind of enabling environments in Nigeria to help them build up their confidence and, such skills when they're in that kind of environment. But their counterparts, those that joined in from the US, these are like recent grads from maybe computer science. They don't even have half the skills that other people have, but we can't hire them. You can't even, yes, you have this amazing thing in your portfolio. We're trying to talk to you, you can't hold a conversation. Tell us about things you've done. You don't know how to navigate those things, right? So, yeah, I think those are the things that they'll look up for. Okay, Henry, I'm just seeing what you have dropped. Entry level is it's also possible, but the steep is lower now. So we won't be looking out for so much as to maybe how you contributed to the projects in your last job and the rest. But you will also want to have wow projects in your portfolio and have talking points on how you worked on those things, what your logic was like, how you approach this problem that you're solving, how you solved it, right? So yeah, entry level internships, those are it. Let me see, I'm trying to think of where you could most likely look out for internship. I don't have some off the top of my head, but if I think of some, I could send to Peter, Chris, I don't know which one you refer to him by, and he could share with you, right? So most of the things that I said, just tone it down by half. The expectations for entry level and interns is not that high, but for junior and intermediate, it is really that high. Then if it is now senior level, it's way higher than that, right? I'm so sorry. There was someone that was raising their hand. I feel like I talked so the person just got tired and they put their hand down. But Nelson, please go on.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sorry, my question goes like this. Good. Yeah. So, please, is there any community you can recommend to us so that we can learn and so that we can join and learn, have some design experience as a product designers? So that is the first request. Then the second one, as a product designer, is it advisable to learn any front-end framework?
Okay.
So then third.
Oh, all right. Go on. Yes.
So yeah, let's assume when I employ a product designer, you can consider if the person can handle the project or implement the project as a front-end developer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to answer your question backwards, back to the first one. Nigeria is wild, but please, in your job description as a product designer, coding is not part of it. It's just unfortunate that in the country that we live in, someone will put job ad for product design and they will pack front-end skills and put there. And to even add more salt to the injury, they'll not tell you is intern. And the JD will be looking like the job description for a senior. So as a product designer, front end is really not a requirement for you in that role, unless you just want to learn it just because. However, what I would really say any product designer should focus on is your UX research skills. Please fix that up. Your job as a designer is not just to open Figma and conjure things. You're not a product designer. That means you're a Figma designer. And this also spills over to front-end people. Yes, I know we use React. Yes, I know we do this. Your role is not React developer, unless that's what you identify as. Your job is front-end engineer. So anyways, let me come back to design people. Learn, that time you want to use Anga and learn front-end. Channel that into UX research. Channel that into design systems and all of those things, right? And I think I'm trying to remember what your first question was. Yeah, communities for projects on product design. Because I'm not actively in design space, I'm trying to remember this guy in design Twitter that host used to have. What's his name? Oh God, why am I not remembering so many people? He's an amazing designer, and he used to have these closed group where he brings a group of designers together. They collaborate on design projects that they can add to their portfolio. Yeah. So hold on. I'm trying to remember. Is he Design Chief Priest? Let me check. Just give me a moment. Yeah. Yes, I think he's design. So his handle is the Ninja Tech guy. Then there is this other one. Maybe I'll ask my design friends later and then I would get back to you. Then yes, designers have communities. But even those communities can be distracting sometimes. You just join and they'll not be doing anything. Again, that's why I'm recommending these other people that just create a small space and it's timed. The next 2 months, people are just building things. Prior to when you get that, go and Google product designers. There's this guy, Chris. Is it Chris? Yeah. Go and Google senior amazing designers in companies that are not even Nigerian. Right? Go to LinkedIn, look for them, and go and look for their portfolios. And look at what they have in their portfolios and try to replicate it. When I mean replicate, don't do the exact projects that they do, but try to model, like aim for that. Right? So that you can compete at the local level here in Nigeria and at the global level, even as someone that is just starting out, and work on those projects. Learn to follow the full-on design process. Like I said, you have your first research phase, do your lo-fis, include your brand guide where you have like why you don't necessarily have to add the why, but your assets are clearly defined. You have your fonts, you have the color palette, you have other assets that relate to the project. You move on to working on the low fidelities, iterates, and then work on the main high fidelity itself. Try to prototype and also link the prototype versions in your portfolio and do case studies for your design, right? I used to like have this thing in my head. There's this guy's portfolio that I really like. Let me see if I can just hold on. And if you're a as a product designer, rather, not if I want to build a portfolio, you don't have to know how to code to do that. You can use cards, you can use even Notion allows you to do that as well. But I can't really remember most of these people I said. But like I said, I just hope I don't forget. I'll ask my design friends for some of these resources and I'll send them your way. Okay. Any other person? We still
All right,
have
thank
a
you.
few minutes on the clock. Yeah, you're welcome.
Go on, Mary Jane.
Yeah, Mary Jane, please go on. Mary Jane, your mic is muted in case you're speaking. Okay, so while Mary Jane figures that out, let me see. Okay, carry on. I think you've unmuted your mic. I can't hear you. Can anyone else hear her?
As a beginner, can you
Okay,
hear me
I
now?
can hear you now, yes.
I was using my earpiece, sorry. As a
That's fine.
beginner, I don't know anything about coding. And I'm interested in it. I want to know more. I want to know things about it. I don't know how to start. Someone invited me to this. So, how can I start? How can I help myself?
Okay. Yes, that's a very good question, right? And I would advise that it starts with a lot of research. You could either research online or maybe have a conversation with someone that is currently doing it. So what you want to do is, because I'm assuming you're a professional already, you have a track that you're in and you're trying to transition, right? Am I wrong?
No.
Okay. So you want to leverage your existing skills and transition smoothly, right? And
Yeah.
because of also landing roles. So I would advise that you research on, again, I have overwhelming information on the internet, so you could maybe have that initial conversation maybe 13 minutes, an hour, maybe with Mr. Chris or one of us that are like in tech, and they would help you narrow down some of the common fields that we have and how it's different, right? Then you now say, okay, these are my own personal strengths. But it's always good to lean on your existing strengths. My strength is this. So because I'm already good at this, I could start with this track so that your transition is smooth. If you can start with a track where you don't have existing strengths in, it could be frustrating. Not impossible, but frustrating, right? So I would advise you do that. Then when you have that conversation with someone, you can now narrow down what you're researching. If your career goal, for instance, is to transition into tech and maybe in a year or two, you want to land this role, you do a research on what fields can help you achieve that role. It could even be that you want to Japan and you're researching on what tracks is in demand in the place you want to Japan to. So those are some of the things that you'll be researching. Even if it's within Nigeria, you want to learn something that can help you achieve a goal within that timeline, and you want to learn something that is in demand as well. So you don't learn a skill that you can't earn from quickly. And yeah, so I think those are the things that I advise. And then once you're done with all those your research, find a boot camp that you can register to, either in person or virtual. The advantages of boot camp is it will give you structure and there are deadlines for you to meet. So that's usually helpful. And you'll be in a space with your peers, people that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing. And it is usually motivating when you have other people doing the same things. You can rub minds. Yes, I think that's what I would advise for now.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Please, if I pronounce your name wrongly, correct me. Is it Amaugo Tonti?
Yeah, Amugo.
Okay, Amugo. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening. So I'm new into tech. I'm learning web development currently, and I'm stuck at JavaScript. I don't know. I'm not perfect in creating beautiful portfolios, beautiful landing pages yet. But I'm good. I'm not perfect. I'm wondering, should I jump into the JavaScript and start learning it back to back, or should I just focus on the HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap?
Okay, so questions. When did you start learning HTML and CSS, and how long have you done it?
Started learning last year, November, December, yeah.
It's been a long time. But were you actively doing it?
I can build a full website.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you can move on to JavaScript now.
But I'm not building how I want to be building. Like just some.
So, what's the challenge in the HTML and CSS part first? And I'm assuming it's CSS.
Like,
so what's the challenge?
When I see other people's like, I'm not good at copying people's project and doing it for myself. I always build from scratch. If I try doing what you do, I will not do it right. I don't know.
Okay, sorry that I'm asking you more questions. I just want to get enough insight. So when you say copying other people's projects, is it that you saw the design and you're trying to replicate it, right?
Yes, yeah, and I cannot do it.
Okay. So how is your CSS skill? Do you lean more on Bootstrap, or is your vanilla CSS strong?
I work more on Bootstrap.
Okay. So even though Bootstrap is amazing, you might want to get a solid hang of CSS, especially flex boxes, grids, and building responsive design. Then for replicating another design that you're seeing, it's not necessarily your fault, to be honest, especially if you don't have design assets. You're not a magician, but there are tools that can help you. I think there are Chrome extensions like CSS Picker, there's Color Picker, there is what fonts. So
Normally, I don't want to be based on front end, though. I want to be based on that back end because I see web development as just a journey into the tech world. I just want to use this web development and start. It's not that that's what I want to base.
okay, so you want to do back end for web.
I want to be perfect in back end and in front end.
That's the same thing that we're saying. So if you want to fix the design problem, you have to use those tools. So if I want to replicate, let me share my screen. If I want to replicate a website, right? I cannot just look at, do I have any website open? Let me see. This is for the UI part. Then while I'm opening this, for the JavaScript own, just please get started already. But I would advise that you learn the fundamentals well. Whatever resource you're using, whatever bootcamp it is, when you learn a concept, practice it immediately. Build something with JavaScript.
Wait, you said bootcamp. Bootcamp.
Sorry, what did you say?
You said something about bootcamp.
Yeah, I said if you're in a boot camp and they are giving you projects to build, try and build most of it by yourself. Resist the urge to go and copy code, but you can research and figure it out. But when you learn something, immediately practice it by working on something. Google beginner project and apply it. Spend a lot of time learning the fundamentals of JavaScript. So the basics first are like your variables, data types, functions, classes, and the rest. Then don't touch any framework yet. Leave React and Node.js. Then move to advanced. Learn how to write OOP in JavaScript. If you're a book person, there's an amazing book that I always recommend. Myself, I reread it every year. Is I Don't Know JavaScript. It's a collection. There are about 4 of them. You'd read that. I don't know. I think Traversing Media has good resources if you're a video person on JavaScript, right? And so when you've done that and you've touched on advanced concepts, you build, good things well with vanilla JavaScript, then you can now start touching frameworks. The advantage of this is you know JavaScript so well that even if a new framework comes out tomorrow, you pick it up in 1 week. You want to be that flexible. And I know that JavaScript can be daunting, but I think most of the challenge that beginners have and why we run away from JavaScript is that it's very abstract. It's coding. It's hard to relate it to something in real life. So you could get a very good tutor that can help to break down that abstractness of JavaScript for you. And you could also use ChatGPT for that, like I was explaining earlier. If there's a concept that, even though they don't show you, for example, say function at this, but deep down, so you never even understand what these people are saying in function. Go to ChatGPT and say, explain function in JavaScript to me like I'm 5. Then take it a step further and say, okay, now explain it in simple technical terms. Okay, show me an example. All right, this example that you showed to me, explain what each line of code does. Right, so ChatGPT can do all of that for you. So you could do that. Then for the front end part, if you're trying to rebuild something like this and you are not given design assets by a product designer, you can use, if I want to know the exact color that was used, so I'm not guessing, I can use either CSS people, I can say I have that extension, or there's color picker, right? So if I hover, I'm able to pick each color, the exact hex. This is a grid. There are also some CSS tools like, I want to get these gradients the way it is. There is CSS gradients generator. Just go there, get it, and all of those things. Now, all these spinners, maybe you need free 3D elements because obviously this is their own personal asset. You can't get it. Just Google where to get 3D assets. I'm just saying this is an example. Then if you want to know the fonts, use what fonts. Do I have what fonts enabled in this browser? I don't think so. What fonts, if you're hovering over a website, to be hinting what the actual fonts that they used, so you could get that done. Yeah, but don't stress about it if you know you won't specialize in front end. You know enough HTML and CSS to just move to back end. So if it's back end, you want to specialize, then you can just do that. Yeah.
So is there any bootcamp I can join to give me projects.
So give you
They're
what?
giving me like ideas. So they're giving me ideas on projects I work on.
I don't know if there is. I know there's old school, right? And I know they do project based trainings as well. There is
Where?
old school is virtual.
Okay.
I mean, there is because my academy we're not live yet because we're just trying to recently expand and cater to other genders. Before it's just women only, so maybe from next year before we'll be able to do that. But there's old school. There is also, if I get box website that I just went into now, we are, although it's not for your level, shall now that I'm thinking about it, but we are publishing an internship program in September where you can come and build stuff and we can teach you advanced concepts in whatever track you're on. So I think that's the one I'm aware of. Then there is this, which other one was I be now, Seth? Then platform like Udacity. I think Udacity has free JavaScript courses, and Udacity platform allows you to like their projects, their quizzes. Let me even search. So Udacity.
They give free projects topic, or they just teach JavaScript for free.
So all their courses always have projects and then their quizzes. So you could lean into their free options. And you could also just Google project ideas for backend and pick the one that interests you. Or if you go on Udacity and search for instance, let's say JavaScript.
Yeah.
Let me say intermediate, for instance. And we'll filter it to free. I mean, for you would go for basic, but I'm just showing an example. So please don't click on their nano degree program. Oh, that one is paid and it's a lot of dollars. Where my filter? Where did the filter even go to? Wait, let's go back. So, because I know I had so many courses that I shared with people then, and they always have amazing. I think I have to filter it first. So price should be free. It's still loading. Let's give it some time. So you just sort it. Price is free. Topic. Then you choose your skill level, and it will load the free courses that they have on JavaScript. And why I usually recommend Udacity's platform is they have solid projects. So that's free. This topic or field topic you can now search for. What's wrong with my internet? But anyways, that's the platform. I don't know how we are in C++. Just search for it. But yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I think we are 7 minutes ahead of time. Are there any more questions? Jesus. Had hands raised. Okay, sorry, let me check the queue so I'll know who raised hands first.
Thomas.
Okay, it's Thomas. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good evening,
everyone.
My name is Thomas Victor. I'm the founder of Makanaki Technologies Limited. So I want to use this medium to inform you guys about the project I've been working on for months now. So it's actually got into MVP. It's available on both platform, Apple Store and Google Play. We actually built a social media platform. You should be first in, let's say, in Africa, because the first one that was done wasn't successful by what's the name again? What's the name of this guy? Musa Zigaba Musa, whatever. So we did a very nice job. We can check it out. I'll be expecting you guys' reviews. Anyway,
what's the name of the product?
Okay, the name is Makanaki. The name is, maybe I'll type it down on the chat.
All right.
The name is Makanaki. So it's built for businesses and connecting with family and friends.
Cool. Well done. It's not easy to build, so great job to you and your team. I'll check it out when you send it in.
All right, I appreciate it. I also appreciate your honest reviews, either personal or on the platform.
Okay, sure.
All right, thanks.
All right. So yeah, Chidago, I think you're the last person because of time. You can carry on.
Okay. Thank you for the class. And my question is, okay, currently, okay, I graduated from UNN like a pharmacist. Currently about to start my internship. But like I've always wanted to like connect the pharmacy thing with like what do they call it again? Data analysis. And really, really, really I don't even know where to start from. So like I'm asking for your advice.
Okay, that's cool. Are you learning data analysis already?
I've not really started, do you get? But like I've always wanted to. And I know I am going to. So I don't even know where to start from.
Okay, that's good. So data and I'll just generalize everything else under bio because we classify them under biotech. They have very solid relationship with each other, so it's good that you're leaning into data. Check out Data Camp. I know that which community be that was given scholarship because Data Camp is paid, but that's one of the best platforms I've seen to learn anything data. God, why can I not remember the name of any community anymore? Is this how I know so many communities? I'm trying to figure out.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, Chris.
Well, aggressive for good, right?
Yes, thank you. Ingressive for good. Yeah. So look out for them while you use other resources. But I'll advise you just start. Start with data
Okay.
analytics. But again, most people used to vex for me anytime I say this. I know that you can learn in data analytics, you can just use how to use Power BI, learn small Excel, and you are good. But please learn Python and SQL. Okay.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it's going to give you better advantage in the job market, even make you understand in depth what you're working on. I think if you even see the full blown course track for data analytics in Data Camp, you see data analytics with R, data analytics with Python, right? So, but ease yourself in, make you no stress you. Just start with the Excel, then learn how to like query data using maybe Power BI and the rest of them. But just have at the back of your mind that you need to learn Python, and then start looking for projects that you can work on in the biotech space. Is a very, very good space, and they're always looking for good hands there. So yeah, I think that's what I have to do for now. Yeah, and look for people that are also learning it with you. So if it ginger you
All
to
right.
continue, yeah,
Okay. Thank you very much.
yeah, welcome. Okay, final, last person is Solomon. Let's have your question.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening, please. Yes, it has been a wonderful time. And as a new person into tech, US design, okay, we just started, but as a new person, so far so good. It has been wonderful. And it's nice hearing, as in listening to you talk about your experiences and how it has been. And I want to plead with you. I think we still need at least even maybe 2 or 3 times to just come on again and just still talk about tech, so be able to at least still have more from you, because everything that you can't just give us all the information in just one section. So just still want to hear more from you, learn from you, and at least you can still mentor us as we are going in the tech journey. Thank you.
All right, thanks. I'm flattered, but yeah, I'm always open to the community as long as I'm free. If Chris wants to, set up anything, that's fine. Whichever way I can help. But the shall not be like super demanding because I'm currently
Sophia.
contributing to
Hello.
several communities. Hi.
Hi, please, before you go, please, I would also want to say thank you for the session. It's really nice. And I want to buttress on what Solomon just said. We are just, I too is just coming into tech, right? And I'm learning this product design. The class has been awesome. Yeah. So I would like to ask, since you're already in the business for a long time, what do you think after learning this product design? What do you think should be our next step? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just learning. Like, I'm new. I'm a very, very big novice into the tech world here. So what do you think should be our next step after the whole class and the likes? Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks. So, your next step would be to build. Okay, let me use design for you people to design more projects and then start connecting with relevant communities and people in your space, right? And put your work out there. You don't even have to wait till you finish your bootcamp, but when you complete your first project, already start talking about it on LinkedIn and the rest, right? Strategic networking, because I think the end goal is to get a job in product design, and whichever way can make that transition easy and smooth for you, you would want to take it. So it's good, well done that you started, and I really wish you and also other people in your track all the best, and I look forward to seeing what you people come up with. I don't know if there's going to be a demo when you people are done. I would like to come see what you people work on as your final projects from your boot camp. But when you're done, work more on more and build your portfolio. I think same thing I was telling Nelson, have case studies in your portfolio and do a lot of that. So yeah. And what do
All
they
right.
used to
Thank
say? The
you.
world is your oyster. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Seriously, I'll say this is one of the best sections. So, for our students, don't worry, I'll still drag her back. I'll still drag her back. So, Sophia, I want to officially thank you. Centadesk is really, really grateful for honoring our invitation to come and talk to us and share your insights and your journey so far. So I believe we have most of us here, and I believe all of us here have learned a lot. So Sophia, I also want you to share your LinkedIn, your link to your LinkedIn profile so that most of us can follow you on LinkedIn. I think that would be the best place to network with you. I will not ask you to share your phone number so that nobody will start calling you. So please just drop your
Then I used to run away from calls. I'll not even answer.
your LinkedIn profile link so that they can follow you on LinkedIn. So please don't worry, we'll still bring more people that was going to still talk to you guys about how to go about the whole LinkedIn thing. So I'm making some move on that. So they'll still show you how to go about linking LinkedIn and connecting and all that. So don't really worry much, but try to, if you don't have LinkedIn account, just create one this night, then follow Sophia. Then don't just wait till the next section. Somebody's gonna come and put you guys through on how to position yourself, how to start making noise on LinkedIn and even on Twitter and the rest of other places that people need to start seeing you and seeing what you're doing. So once again, Sophia, we're very grateful. So is there anybody that want to thank Sophia in a special way? Can just say
Pico class
something.
special week.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sophia,
Thank you.
Sophia, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and everything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, that will be off for today. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for joining and staying up till now. Thank you so much. Okay, good night, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Chris.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
Bye.